Yeah, I just want to do a little quick introduction to know what's kind of the agenda here, who's speaking, and what sort of the play is going to be. I'm Josh Graff. I'm the secretary for East Kensington Neighbors, which is this current Cashman here that you're in. And we have Ashley from Fishtown Neighbors Association and Avery from Olde Richmond Civic Association. If you're in one of those districts, definitely grab one of them to talk afterwards. We also have speaking today, we have Representative Hohenstein, we have Representatives Isaacson, Burgos, Councilmember Squilla, and Senator Saval. So we have a packed list of speakers today. And then we also have Transit Philly kind of bringing it all home and a call to action at the end. And then after that, we'll have active letter writing sessions, emails, sort of template writing, sort of workshopping, and also we have a bunch of art supplies for poster making and sort of just like general advocacy sort of stuff. Just want to thank everybody for coming. I guess for introductions too, I'll just say a little bit about East Kensington. So we meet, monthly here, third Monday, 7 p.m. Hit me up afterwards if you think you're in our area. I've also been doing SEPTA Stroll, which I've been trying to walk every single SEPTA line, and I'm 200 miles there. I'm getting a long way. But I'm going to be the first person to tell you how rough it is to walk most of those regional area lines. It is not great, especially last Thursday. It was quite rough in the heats, walking to Trenton. It was tough. I think it's important to just kind of look at these places. There's a lot of great things along the regional routes, and also just internal here to Philly, and I think it's great to have the access to those places, and those places have access to Philly in return. And a lot of those are under threat. Sweet, so I guess I'll pull up Ashley if you want to say anything about Fishtown Neighbors, or a little bit of quick
Josh is tall. I'm tall for a woman, but not that tall. Fishtown Neighbors Association, if you think you're in Fishtown, please come to meetings and participate. I'm begging the younger people especially to please come to meetings and participate. Especially as relates to zoning matters, you can vote on, what's going on in your neighborhood. You don't even have to come to a meeting. Just sign up to do zoning stuff. Yes. I have postcards over there if you think that you're in our area with contact information and our upcoming events that we have going on. And I will give it to Avery really quick if Avery wants to say a word about Olde Richmond.
We're the same height. Okay. So, Avery McLaughlin, I'm the secretary of the ORCA board, so our boundaries are between York Street and Lehigh, Trenton, and the river. So if you're within there, every fourth Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. we have a general meeting, and we have one coming up this Tuesday in a couple days with NKCEC coming to speak. So if you want to come, you can vote on any zoning meeting that pops up. So please, just show up, participate, it's fun.
Thank you to the community organizations, ORCA and FNA and EKNA. It's really, when we first talked about SEPTA funding, there was always a challenge of what we were going to do. If you remember, we had the Bus Revolution program that was causing a lot of angst amongst people about looking at different routes and things like that. And we worked very closely with SEPTA to try to make sure that our areas weren't going to be really impacted by those SEPTA Revolution routes. And now the issue is not about changing routes or speeding up time. It's about having service at all. And I think it's really important as we work with the city as far as funding, and we work very closely with our state colleagues who are very supportive of funding. The state was always looking at coming up to having a sustainable revenue source in order to fund it. And the House has been doing a great job. I know they passed some things on to the Senate to make sure that we have additional funding. But this is not just a fight for this year. This is a fight for a long time to come. Public transit is necessary for our city of Philadelphia. And not only our city of Philadelphia, for the whole entire Commonwealth. We have bus routes, and we talk to some of our state colleagues in every county of the Commonwealth who needs these resources. So this is just not a Philly issue, and we are working with our colleagues throughout the Commonwealth and the city of Philadelphia to make sure we have the necessary funds needed. We will continue to advocate. Like I said, we work well with our state colleagues. And, but we also need to tap into our federal resources. And right now, it's challenging times. A lot of things are being cut. But we can't stop there. We've got to continue to work with our state Congress, our Congress members, and our state senator and our senators to make sure that they know the needs that we have for our public transit. For a city to be a quality city, public transit is a necessity. So we will continue to fight and advocate with you, and thank you all for our transit advocates that are here today. It's important. We get emails from all of you, day in and day out, right? And we try to respond to them as best we can. But that activism and that advocacy goes a long way to continue that messaging so that we know that everybody's hearing the need for public transit and funding. So thank you so much. Keep up the great work. We're not done yet, and we probably won't be done in July, but we'll keep fighting until we get the resources necessary. Thank you so much.
State Rep Joe Hohenstein, you're sitting in the 177th, and I want to thank Bill and Nancy from Philly Brewing for hosting us, and also EKNA for putting it together along with FNA and ORCA. So yeah, big round of applause for everybody. I'm just going to talk to you guys straight. I mean, we can do speeches and everything like that around this. I want to just let you guys know what the reality is. And the reality is, we just passed out of the State House for the fourth time a sustainable funding mechanism for SEPTA. Does it get everything we want? Probably not, but that's the art of political compromise. The bill as it went through, which is House Bill 1364, sponsored by our colleague and the chairman of Transportation, Eddie Nielsen, is something that does seek to address the entire state's issues. So it does that by providing funding for mass transit, which exists in all 67 counties. It also does that by providing additional dedicated funding to PennDOT and to making sure that we have roads and bridges and appropriate traditional infrastructure for cars and trucks and everything else like that. But the infrastructure investment that we're making in transit is essential, and I know I'm speaking to the choir on this, because we in Philly provide the economic engine for the rest of the state in terms of tax revenue and business generation. And SEPTA specifically also has contracts all across the state. There are several counties that have 50, 60, 100 or more jobs that are created specifically out of SEPTA contracts. So when I've been talking with some of our colleagues on the other side of the building in the Senate, and in particular with my Senator Picozzi, who represents Northeast Philadelphia, he does want to do the right thing by SEPTA, and he does want to provide that investment. What he needs to hear is what skin in the game does everybody else have? So if you're sitting here as a resident of Northern Liberties, Fishtown, East Kensington, Olde Richmond, wherever you live here, and in whatever way you utilize mass transit, either for yourself personally, or if you are a business owner and you provide a benefit by giving a key card to people who work with you, or some other way to make sure that their fares are covered, make sure that's something that our senators know. And here in Philly, Senator Saval has been leading the charge on the Democratic side, but and quite everybody. What we need is that the 5 or so Republican senators who have SEPTA in their area recognize what everybody else is putting into the game. So if you're a business owner, you utilize SEPTA key card programs in any way. If you're even somebody who says, you know what, I don't have to pay for a car because I live so close to transit and I'm comfortable with that. Let them know how much you're saving on car insurance and having to pay for the upkeep of a car. and tell them this is the different type of impact that we're going to see here in Philadelphia if people can take the buses, take the trains, and utilize the transit infrastructure that we need. So let them know what your skin in the game is. Because if we're talking about finding that sweet spot where compromise happens, one of the things that I know I've heard from the other side is that desire to know, okay, what are you putting on the table as well? And I think that's something that's really important for everybody to do. Just want to give, again, a real final shout out to all of the RCOs who have been involved. I know, again, speaking to the choir, but maybe some of the folks online don't normally do this, but definitely participate in your registered civic organizations. ORCA and FNA and EKNA are alive and vibrant organizations because they have people coming to the meeting and because the work that needs to get done for the neighborhood is able to get distributed and there's not any one single person that has to pick up the entire load. So come on and participate in your RCOs. And with that, I'm going to say, let's get SEPTA funded. Thank you.
Hi, thank you so much for coming. I'm Representative Mary Isaacson. I'm the 175th district, so over on the other side of the roundabout. And I appreciate my colleagues explaining the nitty-gritty of what we passed, and we've passed 4 times in the House. But I will say, we live in the People's Republic of Philadelphia, and we understand the importance of the lifestyle that we are afforded and appreciate here. In the rest of the state, it's a little bit of a discussion. And, when you're sitting having discussions with our colleagues to get things done, and this bill that we just passed, this 4th time, was done bipartisanly, and a little anecdote, the board broke, so we had to do it the good old-fashioned way, and all the Republicans had to stand up for their no vote so we could shame them. It was very bad. But, mass transit is so important to our communities to thrive, but also it's a path of survival for many. Whether it's you're trying to get to your doctors, when we talk to our rural colleagues, how do you think somebody who is sick in a rural area gets to their doctor if they can't drive? They have a public transit component that goes and picks them up. It might take them 4 hours out of their day just in travel, but it's still there and afforded. And these are the things that we need to fund when we're funding mass transit and public transportation around the Commonwealth. Disproportionately, women, single mothers, getting to work and supporting the families, as so many do in so many areas of the Commonwealth, both rural and urban here, is integral to their survival. And we have to make sure that we have an equitable society and have a ability to make sure that everybody has opportunities, and that's what we're fighting for, and those are the values that we're fighting for when we're funding mass transit. In this area and the 5 counties around us are the economic engine of this entire Commonwealth, and we give more back to Harrisburg than we take, and it's not a lot to ask that we fund our mass transit system.
Hey, good morning. I'm State Representative Danilo Burgos of the 197th Legislative District. I literally start a block and a half away from here. I'm glad to join my colleagues in all the organizations in demanding the State Senate to kick back the bill that we have sent over for the 4th time. 4 veces, for those that don't understand what we're saying. The Democratic-led House has sent the bill over to fund SEPTA 4 times. We didn't wait for this crisis to come. We acted. We're legislating. We're working. And thanks to all of you, we'll make sure that the Senate kicks it back to us so we can send it to the governor's desk. So please, our action plan is let's call the Senate. We can start with the great senator from the Northeast, Picosi. What's his number, man?
Yes. His address is 12361 Academy Road, 19154, and his district office phone number is 215-281-2539.
So let's tell a friend, the same way we come out to vote, let's tell a friend that we need to call the senators. We need to call specifically Senator Peposi and all the Republican senators, the Senate leadership. Let's give them a call. Let's ask them nicely. We're going to have to be mean. But we are the economic engine of the state, this region. SEPTA provides so much help for all of us, for all of our communities, for essential workers, for our kids to go to school. We should not be in this predicament. Unfortunately, we are. And let's call the Senate. Let's start with Senator Peposi. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I forget my appearance. I biked here. That was not inadvisable. But yeah, not a bad way to go. So of course, I represent the 1st Senatorial District, which we are in right now. All of the colleagues that you heard from, we overlap or fully, some districts are fully contained within the 1st District. We work very, 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 very closely together. Reps Hohenstein and Isaacson, I believe, are on the Transportation Committee as well in the House. But just generally, we have been constantly connected around this issue. I really want to thank all the neighborhood associations, the RCOs that are pulling this together. It's been, you know, as sort of nerve-wracking and sort of really upsetting as this whole experience is, and the notion that we have to fight for this essential service, it has actually also at the same time been truly, truly inspiring. Just an extraordinary confluence of people coming together. I actually had a printed packet. I put this on social media, and this is just a fraction of the outreach that we have received around transit. Spoken to high school students, to doctors, to people all around the region who rely very much on public transit, business owners, major systems. And so it's just been, in one sense, this is ridiculous that we have to do this. And on the other hand, we are building a durable statewide coalition that will fight for funding this year and for years to come. So honestly, I am excited by it. We've already heard a little bit about the importance of SEPTA, the importance of the Southeast in contributing economically to the Commonwealth. I just want to note a little bit of what the collective effort has been just on the part of all of us and our legislators here. So, there has, as people have no doubt seen or participated in, and especially with Transit for All and Transit Forward Philadelphia, a series of rallies, not just in Philadelphia, but across the region in Chester, Paoli, Levittown, Bryn Mawr, and Lansdale. We had transportation workers in Harrisburg, outside of SEPTA's headquarters, and ahead of its public hearings, and with people across the Commonwealth in front of the Capitol fountain. I will just note one person I met at that rally, a former Philadelphian. They actually were a public servant here in the city. They, due to a disability, had to go on medical leave, became homeless. Ultimately ended up living in public housing in Bradford, in McKean County. They took, with public transit to get, a combination of Greyhound, I should say, and public transit to get from Bradford to the Capitol in Harrisburg to speak to their Republican senator. I mean, this is just extraordinary. It's as sort of, again, awful as those circumstances are. Again, an inspiration in terms of what this means. Because we, of course, are talking about SEPTA here, but we are funding, with the bill that the House passed over, transit across the Commonwealth. Atlanta and the Lehigh Valley, Rapid in central Pennsylvania, PRT in the Pittsburgh region. Every Senate district has some form of public transit, and they need this funding, and everyone needs it. We also need to note what transit is for. Transit is for our future. I had the privilege of traveling to Boston for a housing summit recently, and we spoke a lot about zoning reform and enabling housing near transit. SEPTA recently built an incredible development in Conshohocken on land that it owns, and that's the future of SEPTA, right? We need to be building more housing near transit. We see a lot of housing up in this neighborhood and along Front Street. That's not a coincidence. That's not a coincidence that it's being built along the transit corridor. We need that especially in our suburban regions. And one of the things that depends on zoning reform, which is more to come, but it also depends on on there being a viable transit system. We have also worked with our Republican colleagues constantly. You've heard about Senator Picozzi, Senator Ferry, people who have actually, Senator Ferry in particular has spoken at events, has testified to his support for transit. Chairman Ed Nielsen engineered an incredible visit where a lot of Republican leaders came to, mostly the 1st Senate District. We did a charm offensive around SEPTA. We heard from sports teams, hospitals, so many people heard about SEPTA. And then many of us went to Altoona to hear about their transportation needs so that we could stitch together the vision that we need across the Commonwealth. Anyway, just so you know, this collective effort would not have been possible without the enormous pressure. That pressure is working. People feel it in Harrisburg. They feel it on the transit lines. They feel it because you were writing letters, because you were canvassing regional rail lines, because people are being made aware of what will happen if they lose their transit line. And they're being made aware of how important it is and what the future is of this region. I'll just note, I got to speak to many people who have moved to Philadelphia. You hear about people moving to Texas, something I would never do. But I met a ton of people who moved from Texas to here because there is a transit system here and they don't need cars. And that's also part of the growth of our region. So I appreciate, please write to your legislators, to the legislators that are deciding this, my colleagues in this Pennsylvania Senate, the governor of Pennsylvania, people who will be at the negotiating table. Make sure that it is funded. Make sure it is funded at the level that we need. We don't just need any funding. We need the funding. We need the amount. We need, at the very least, the amount that the House passed. So that is also critical. We can't just come home with just something. We need everything. And so I am honored to fight with all that. I believe there's a question.
Yes. So actually I learned something.
Yes.
Speaking of Texas, they actually got rid of a train connecting there to Oklahoma, leaving Oklahoma with no passenger rail. And Pennsylvania is following in Texas's footsteps right now.
But whoa. I'll tell you that it's a risk. Yeah, it's a risk. It's a risk, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you. So, good speeches from the legislators. We know what needs to be done. We fortunately got it passed in the House, but the fight's not over. We got to continue putting the pressure on the Senate. So as you see, there's a few things on your table that you can do. For one, write the letters. Continue putting the pressure on the legislators. As Senator Saval mentioned earlier today, he got a lot of letters from people from all over the region talking about how important SEPTA is. Let's continue putting in the pressure. Tell the Senate that, until it's passed, we're going to keep on sending them letters. So write to them, explain to them how SEPTA is personal to you. Additionally, get at least 3 of your friends to write to their legislators as well. Even if they don't necessarily take SEPTA, just being stuck on the I-95, who wants that? The traffic is insane.
Exactly.
Hell no.
No,
Yeah.
no. Neither do I. So even if they don't necessarily take SEPTA, have them write to their legislators anyways and tell them, I do not want to be stuck in traffic.
Yeah.
I do not want to be stuck on the I-95. So yes, let's continue to put the pressure on them. Additionally, if you want to canvass as well, we have a few events coming up with the canvassing. If we don't have an event planned for a specific day, just let us know. We'll try to get volunteers to come out, being able to canvass. We're trying to canvass at Senator Pennyquick's district as well. So yeah, you'll have these on your table. Just write to your legislators, talking about how transit impacts you. Some addresses as well. And then spread the word to all your friends.
Woo!